Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us once again today. Welcome back. We have already one discussion on the corporate tax on the free zone businesses, free zone real estate players. We have already discussed about what will be the impact of corporate tax on the developers. We have already discussed the impact of corporate tax on the contractors, subcontractors, brokers. We have already discussed this. Now we are going to discuss what will be the impact of real estate players which are based in the free zone. What is the reason for this? We know this, there is a special privilege to some qualifying free zone person if they are dealing with the commercial property and they have a transaction with the other free zone person. Since they have a special privilege, so the tax treatment for sure it will be different for those people. As usual, we are going through the whatever we have discussed till now. We have conducted 31 webinars on the corporate tax. And almost we have covered each and every section. And most of the webinars cover the scope of the UAE corporate tax on the respective business, on the respective taxable persons. Whatever we covered partnership, free zone, registrations, family foundations, deductible expenses, interest capping rules, small business relief, tax grouping, tax loss provisions, reliefs, free zones specifically related to consultation paper we discuss, participative interest and its taxations, trading companies, manufacturing and processing companies, transfer pricing and its importance, the transitional rules. We have multiple webinars on the transitional rules, opt out to pay corporate tax on the pre-tax era gains. Interest is allowed to calculate taxable income. In the last webinar, as I discussed, it was on the corporate tax applications on the free zone players, sorry, on the real estate players. In our last webinar, we discussed there are major 5 real estate players. These are the owners, developers, contractors, subcontractors, and brokers. We discussed these real estate players can be classified into resident taxable persons. It can be classified into non-resident taxable person. Whenever they are resident persons, they can be, their worldwide income will be subject to tax in the UAE. If this is a natural person, we have already discussed that they will not be liable to register for corporate tax. They are not even liable to pay the corporate tax if they have gross revenue in the Gregorian calendar year up to maximum of 1 million. Then we discuss the non-resident taxable person taxability as well. As I mentioned, for the natural person, we said that the real estate broker, a contractor, the unique tax treatment for the natural person, this unique tax treatment is if their gross revenue is maximum up to 1 million dirham during a calendar year, then they will not be liable to register. They will not be liable to pay corporate tax. Now discuss the small business relief as well. This small business relief is available to the natural person. These are available. This is available to the juridical person as well. The small business relief, if their annual business revenue is up to 3 million, they can opt to get the relief and they will not be liable to pay the corporate tax up to 31st December 2026. If their revenue, if the annual business revenue is more than 3 million dirham, then they will be liable to pay corporate tax. We discuss the qualifying free zone person. We discuss that only the juridical persons can be the qualifying free zone person. And we know these, what are the juridical persons. And to become a qualifying free zone person, a free zone company, a free zone juridical person must be meeting these 6 conditions. These 6 conditions are they maintain the adequate substance in the UAE, derive qualifying income, comply with the prevailing transfer pricing rules and regulations, have not elected to be subject to corporate tax, meet the de minimis criteria, and have audited financial statements. If a juridical free zone person is meeting these 6 conditions, we can say this is a qualifying free zone person. Then we discuss the corporate tax applications for the commercial property. At the high level, we say if the person is a qualifying free zone person, property is in the free zone. Property is a commercial property. That property is not being used for accommodation, residence, living purposes like hotel, motel, service apartment. And this property is being used exclusively for business purposes. Transaction has been made with the other free zone person. Then we said this leg of the commercial property, this leg of the transaction can qualify as a qualifying income. The rest of the all property we discuss, either the property is out of the UAE, either the property is on the UAE mainland, if this is a residential property in the other free zone, or if this is a residential property in the same free zone, even the commercial property within the same free zone where the transaction is being made with the non-free zone person, or the property doesn't meet the condition that we just discussed these conditions, then we said it will be straightforward subject to tax at 9%. So the residential property, even this is in the free zone, out of the free zone, transaction is being made with the free zone person, non-free zone person, it doesn't matter, it will be straightforward subject to tax at 9%. And this will not have any impact on the de minimis criteria. Then we said the commercial property. This commercial property, if out of the free zone, then they are different treatment. In the free zone, different treatment subject to fulfillment of condition. Now we are going to discuss this specifically about the treatment of the commercial property for the free zone player. But before this is a just summary of the discussion that we had in our previous lecture: non-free zone person, natural person, juridical persons, civil company, sole establishment, freelancer, having a revenue up to 1 million, annual income up to 3 million, what will be the treatment? Then juridical person, this is annual business income up to 3 million, more than 3 million, liable to register and submit. All these things we have discussed in our previous webinars. Then we have special treatment for the free zone person. For the free zone person is the free zone developer, owner, contractor, broker. Non-qualifying free zone persons or qualifying free zone person. If the person is a non-qualifying free zone person, might be a juridical person, might be a natural person, their tax treatment will be same like a non-free zone person. Then we said qualifying free zone person, important thing is they are dealing with the property. Property is located in the free zone, out of the free zone, is out of the free zone, straightforward non-qualifying income, it will be subject to tax at 9%. If the property is located in the free zone, the important thing is this a commercial property or residential property? If this is a residential property, again subject to tax at 9%. Both of these will not have any impact on the de minimis that we already discussed. Now the property is located in the free zone. If the property is located within the free zone, if the property is located within the free zone, this is a commercial property. Important thing is transaction is being made with the free zone person or non-free zone person. Non-free zone person, straightforward subject to tax 9%. It will not have any impact on the de minimis. Now, property is located within the free zone. This is a commercial property. Transaction is being made with other free zone person. Then law said it can be a qualifying income. It can be subject to tax at 0%, subject to fulfillment of conditions. In this discussions, I have left few questions for you in my previous articles, in my previous webinar. These questions are: does the used property fall under the definition of commercial property? It was my first question. There is a possibility that the used property falling under the definition of commercial property or upcoming development will fall under the definition of commercial property. This was my first question. Second question was, will upcoming commercial property developments in the free zone be considered as a commercial property? This is almost the same question, but the commercial, this I'm thinking from the developer point of view. If the developer is developing one tower or developing land, these new developments from the developer point of view, will it be considered a commercial property? The first was this will basically from the leasing point of view, leasing of the existing property, leasing of the new commercial property, development of the existing property, development of the new commercial property. The third thing was, will the inventory for the developer fall under the definition of commercial property? Developers, they are developing, they are selling plot of land. Once they are selling the plot of land, this plot of lands are inventory for the developer. Developers are developing land, converting into the plot of land. These plot of land They see the commercial land. They are selling commercial plot of land to free zone person, non-free zone person. The question is, this inventory, will this inventory fall under the definition of commercial property? Another fourth question was, will income earned by the qualifying free zone person, real estate developers, contractors, subcontractors, brokers, and other free zone persons attributable to the free zone commercial property? And will it be considered a qualifying income? These were the few questions that I left in my previous article as well as in my previous webinars. We will try to address these questions. So first of all, going back to the basics, what is the income of qualifying free zone person? We have already discussed what is qualifying free zone person. Any juridical person which fulfill these 6 conditions, it will be considered a qualifying free zone person. Will the income of qualifying free zone person? It depends. This income is being derived from the free zone person or non-free zone person. We have already discussed, if this income is being derived from the free zone person and transaction is being made with the other free zone person, and this is not in the excluded activities, then it will be considered qualifying income. But we discussed the special treatment for the immovable property. Immovable property can be a commercial property or it can be a residential property, non-commercial or commercial. If this is a commercial property, transaction is being made with the other free zone person, and property is being used exclusively for business purposes, then we said it can be a qualifying income. And other than this, it will be considered non-qualifying income. If the free zone person is making any transaction with the non-free zone person, these non-free zone person can be PE or other than PE. This PE can be domestic PE, international or foreign PE. Both of the income will be considered non-qualifying income. And both of these income, important thing is it will not have any impact on the de minimis. Now, if the transaction is being made with the non-free zone person, this non-free zone person is not a PE of the free zone person. In this situation, it depends income derived from the qualifying activities, non-qualifying activities. If the income is being derived from the qualifying activities, which are not excluding activities, then it will be considered qualifying income. Other than this, it will be considered non-qualifying income. This is just a overview, whatever we have discussed related to the free zone. Exceptions due to general principle were income from the domestic permanent establishment. Just discuss, it will be treated non-qualifying income subject to tax at corporate tax at 9%, straightforward 9%. And income from the PE, non-qualifying income, straightforward subject to tax at 9%. And income from the exploitation of immovable residential property, 9%. It doesn't matter property is within the free zone, out of the free zone. Since this is a residential property, straightforward 9% corporate tax, and it will not have any impact on the de minimis. Income from the ownership and exploitation of the immovable commercial property, where the transaction is connected with the non-free zone person, again 9%. So these 4 incomes, straightforward 9%, will not have any impact on the de minimis criteria. Now the story, basically twist is here. The important thing is here. These are the excluding activities. These 6 are the excluding activities. Out of these 6, clause number 3 is important. They say leasing activities are excluded activities. So if the qualifying free zone person, is give anything on lease, it will be considered non-qualifying income. It will be straightforward subject to tax. Now, the qualifying free zone person, if this is the person which is based within the free zone, the commercial unit they are giving on lease, but this is the exception. So every leasing activities, let me repeat, every leasing activity will be considered non-qualifying income generating activity except one. Then this exception is, they said, ownership and exploitation of the immovable commercial property. Ownership and exploitation of the immovable commercial property, this is excluded activities. Other than, this is the exception here, other than the commercial property located within the free zone, where the transaction in respect of the commercial property is being conducted with the other free zone person. So let me repeat. Every leasing activity of the qualifying free zone person will fall under the excluded activity. Then it will attract 9% tax, except one. And this one is where the qualifying free zone person is making any transaction with the other free zone person related to a commercial property which is being used for business purposes, and this commercial property is within the free zone. This is only one exception related to the property. Other than this, every property, residential, commercial, in the free zone, out of the free zone, transaction with the free zone person, non-free zone person, it doesn't matter. It will be straightforward, subject to tax at 9%. This exception has a lot of questions. First question is, what is commercial property? This is the first and important question. What is the commercial property that will fall under this exception? For this purpose, they have defined the commercial property. They said the commercial property is an immovable property or part thereof used exclusively for business. Used exclusively for business. Used. Law is using the word used exclusively for business or business activity purposes, not used as a place of residence or accommodation, including hotels, motels, bed, breakfast, establishment, service department. So any immovable property within the free zone which is being used exclusively for business purposes, that is not being used for accommodation, hotel or motel, it will be considered immovable property. So immovable property, going back to the definition in the previous page, exception is commercial property. What is commercial property? Immovable property used exclusively for business or business activity purposes, not used for accommodation or living purposes. Now the word used is coming. Now important thing is this used current property, future property. So definition of commercial property is very clear, and it restricts that a qualifying income can be categorized only from the commercial property being used for business purposes, which is based in the free zone, and the property is not being used for residential or living purposes. Like hotel room will not generate qualifying income because these hotel rooms are being used for residential purposes. Even hotel in the free zone, and even the transaction is being made with the other free zone person, still the hotel rooms will not generate qualifying income. It will be considered non-qualifying income. It will be straightforward, subject to tax at 9%. The sale of upcoming development. Now this question is upcoming developments, existing commercial property, new commercial property. I believe the development, specifically development of the development of the upcoming property will fall under the definition of used property. Important thing is, based on the master plan, whenever this master plan will be designed, based upon this master plan, it will be decided this is a residential property or this is the commercial property for the upcoming developments. So for the developer, if the developer, they are in the free zone, they are the qualifying free zone person, they are developing any plot of land. This plot of land is being sold to other free zone person that will be used exclusively for business purposes. That portion of the income will be considered qualifying income, subject to the fulfillment of other conditions. Means the person should be meeting the de minimis test. If the person is not meeting the de minimis test, the person will not be able to qualify for the qualifying free zone person for 5 years. So if this is the condition, the developer can fall under this definition as well. So development of the commercial plot of land within the free zone where the transaction is being made with the other free zone person, it will be considered qualifying income. In the same way, if this is a company within the free zone, that company has any commercial property offices, they are giving the offices unleased to other free zone person, it will be considered qualifying income. So these two categories, development and leasing of the property. Another important thing is management of the property. Management of the property can fall under the definition of qualifying activity as well. We'll try to justify why I'm saying what is the reason for this, because the important thing is in this situation, whenever the law is using the word use exclusively for business purposes, this includes the current property and the upcoming property as well. Another thing is that the ownership and exploitation of the property is an excluded activity. If you're going back to the definition 4, ownership and exploitation of the immovable property is an excluded activity. Ownership and exploitation. Exploitation, again, an important word. Ownership and exploitation. Law is silent about the exploitation of the property. What includes exploitation? Is this include development? Is this include leasing? Is this include management of the property, contracting, subcontracting, brokerage services? Is this exploitation or not? Law is silent about this. So once the law is silent about the exploitation of the property, I have done some research. Based upon the research, it shows the ownership or exploitation of commercial property is generally understood that the using property for economic benefit. These are basically, I googled it, I have gone through the chat GPT, and I have tried to read different other articles as well. Basically, what is this? My understanding may be different from the understanding of the FTA. Might be this is understanding from the different from the other law implementation authorities. Since the law is silent about the exploitation of the property, so I have based upon my research, this is basically using the property for the economic benefit. Using the property for the economic benefit. Whenever you are using the property, means the property will be in your control. If the property is in your control, then you will be using the property for the economic benefit. If the property is not in your control, you cannot use the property for the economic benefit. And property is in the control, usually in the name of the, if the developer is there, property will be in their control. If the leasing party is there, property will be in their control. If the management party is there, if the one party is there, they are managing the property, property will be in their control. So if they are contractor, I believe contractor will not have any control on the property. They will not be using the property for the economic benefit. They will be just providing their services. Subcontractor, same category. Brokerage people, the company which are involved in the brokerage business, they will not be controlling the property. They will not be using the property for the economic benefit, but just they will be having a deal. They will be making a deal. They will be taking the commission. Property will not be in their control for the economic benefit. Once the property will not be in their control for the economic benefit, we cannot say that the broker, contractor, subcontractor, they are doing the exploitation of the property. But yes, developer can do this. The party which is leasing out the property, they can do this. The property that is managing the property, they can do this. So based upon this understanding, I believe the commercial property exploitation of the property include the development services, leasing services, management services. These three services, I believe it will fall under the exploitation of the property. Rest, contracting, subcontracting, brokerage services, it will fall under the non-exploitation of the property. Again, I have mentioned very clearly, this is my understanding, which may be different from the understanding of the FTA, which may be different from the understanding of the ministry. Might be they are bringing some sort of clarification tomorrow. For the time being, this is my understanding that I'm sharing with you. So if the qualifying free zone person is generating any income from the developer, leasing, and management, the company that is providing management service, the company that is providing leasing, these three incomes of the qualifying free zone person, these three income of the qualifying free zone real estate player, developer, the party which is leasing out the property, or the property that is the company that is managing the property, these will fall under the exploitation of services. So if they are managing, developing, leasing it out the commercial property to other free zone person, and the property is not being used for residential or living purposes, but for business purposes. So I believe the income of these players from this property will be subject to tax at 0%. It will be considered qualifying income subject to fulfillment of other conditions. If they are someone is providing contracting, subcontracting, or brokerage services, it will not be considered exploitation of the property, and these services will be treated like any other person in the free zone. Even they are providing these services related to the commercial property. So income earned from the commercial property by the qualifying free zone real estate developer will be considered qualifying income if the property is not being used for accommodation and living purposes, and transaction is being made with the other free zone person, as I mentioned earlier as well. In the same way, leasing and management of the free zone property where the transaction is being with other free zone person, it will be treated based upon the same principle. So developers, leasing, management. Just take an example. X Limited, a DMCC company, is in the real estate development, and they develop a commercial plot of land as per the master plan. And master plan says this is a commercial land. Sold this land to Y Limited, another DMCC company. So this is the commercial property that will be used for business purposes. They are making transaction with the other free zone person. The company is a qualifying free zone person. X Limited is a qualifying free zone person. Commercial property transaction is being made with the other free zone person. The income earned by the X Limited from this transaction will be qualifying income if all other related conditions are being fulfilled. Just look at example 2. If T Limited is a qualifying free zone person and hotel operators, T Limited is a hotel operator. They are managing the hotel. They are operating the hotel. And income earned by the T Limited related to the commercial portion, not the residential portion of the hotel, will be considered qualifying income where the transaction is being made with the other free zone person and all other related conditions are being fulfilled. Example 3. J Limited is the owner of commercial tower, which has all offices. This is a tower. All offices in the tower. J Limited is a qualifying free zone person. J Limited is giving these offices on lease to other free zone person. Since this is leasing services, exploitation of the property, I believe it will generate qualifying income. If there is a mixed use of the property, there is a possibility. One hotel is in the free zone, owner is a qualifying free zone person. This is the hotel. On the ground floor, this is the shops. At the top, there are residential units, or you can say a room that is being used for accommodation purposes. The rooms that are available are being used for accommodation purposes. It will generate non-qualifying income. It will be subject to tax rate forward 9%. The portion of the hotel at the ground floor, these are commercial units. Transaction, if this transaction is being made with the other free zone person, then it can generate qualifying income subject to fulfillment of all other related conditions. As I mentioned, contractors, subcontractors, brokers will be treated like a normal free zone resident person if based within free zone, and they will not have any privilege of the qualifying income. I am repeating. This is my personal opinion. Law is silent about this. So might be they are giving some sort of clarification tomorrow. For sure, we will be required clarification. Then we would be in a better position to give you better understanding about this. I give you the justification as well. So this is extracts of the free zone consultation paper issued by the ministry. So what was the reason why I was asking brokerage services, development services, property management services will fall under the exploitation of the property? This can be seen in the public consultation paper as well. The first question is, the first scenario, this is the free zone qualifying free zone person. The qualifying free zone person has a commercial property. This is the office building. This commercial property, they are giving it on lease to free zone person. So this is the qualifying free zone person. This qualifying free zone has a commercial property. They are giving on lease to other free zone person, 0%. Possibility is 0% if all other conditions are being fulfilled. Non-free zone person subject to tax straightforward 9%. This is very basic thing that we have discussed so many times. In the second scenario, this is a qualifying free zone person, non-commercial property, residential property. This is a qualifying free zone person. They have a residential property. You can say hotel containing all rooms that have been given on rent to the people who are visiting hotels. They don't have any commercial, assuming commercial offices at the ground floor. So this is the hotel room. This is the residential property. We have already discussed this residential property either being given on lease to the free zone person or non-free zone person. In both of the cases, it will be subject to tax at 9% and it will not have any impact on the de minimis. Important thing is, this is another situation in which they are asking, there is a one hotel. We have discussed the example earlier as well. There is a one hotel, their ground floor. For example, apartment building located in free zone that has retail units on the ground floor can generate both qualifying income and non-qualifying income. Qualifying income will be subject to tax at 0% if all other conditions are being fulfilled. Non-qualifying income will be subject to tax at 9%. So in this example, you can see that the leasing of the commercial portion of the hotel has been considered as a qualifying income. So this is a public consultation paper issued by the ministry. So this itself justifies that the leasing activity of the commercial portion related to the commercial building to other free zone person will be considered exploitation of the property. Leasing has been justified from this example. So leasing will fall under the definition of exploitation of the property. And non-commercial portion, straightforward, subject to tax at 9%. There's another example. They said this is a hotel owner. They have given this hotel owner to the hotel operator. Again, this example I have taken from the public consultation paper. Hotel owner, they own the hotel, 20% commercial, 80% residential. They have given this hotel to the hotel operator. Hotel operator is operating the hotel and charging rent to the free zone person. Residential portion is at 80%, straightforward, subject to tax at 9%, 20% commercial. This can generate qualifying income subject to fulfillment of the related conditions. So this example justifies that the hotel operators, the people who are managing the property, it will fall under the exploitation of the property as well. This is again, I'm highlighting, this is the public consultation paper issued by the ministry. So from these two examples, we have justified management of the commercial property, leasing of the commercial property, where the transaction is being made with the other free zone person. Property is not being used for living or accommodation purposes, but for business purposes, can generate qualifying income subject to fulfillment of the related conditions. And developer, for sure, they are the developer, they are developing the property, for sure this fall under the exploitation of the property. Even the none of the example has been given in the public consultation paper, but developer will be exploiting the property. Leasing will fall under exploitation. In the same way, management of the company, management of the commercial property, it will fall under the definition of exploitation. So these were the basically reason. This was the reasons, criteria based upon this. I said development, leasing, management of the commercial property will be considered exploitation of the property. Contracting, subcontracting, brokerage services will not be considered exploitation of the property. So if these services are exploitation where the transaction is being made with the other free zone person, property is not being used for living or accommodation purposes, person itself is the qualifying free zone person, then the income that is being generated, it will be considered qualifying income subject to the fulfillment of the other criteria. And other criteria is 6 criteria for the qualifying free zone person. The highly risky criteria is there is a possibility that the de minimis threshold will be burst. But keep in mind, 3 transactions will not have any impact on the de minimis. What are those 3 transactions? First, income from the PE. It doesn't matter this is domestic PE, foreign PE, straightforward, subject to tax 9%. It will not have any impact on the de minimis. Second, residential property within the free zone, out of the free zone, transaction is being made with the free zone person, non-free zone person, in all those conditions, straightforward, subject to tax at 9%, and it will not have any impact on the de minimis. Third, commercial property that is not being used for commercial purposes, or where the transaction is not being made with the other free zone person, that will be considered non-qualifying income, straightforward, subject to tax at 9%. It will not have any impact on the de minimis as well. Thank you very much. How can we help? We are helping impact assessment, implementation, and advisory services. If you are looking for any support related to the corporate tax, you can contact me, mahar@crestcooper.com. You can contact my team. We are always ready to listen, ready to understand, ready to deliver. We can be approached at this number 3391488. Or you can drop us an email, info@crestcooper.com, or you can drop me in email to my personal email address, official email address, that is mahar@crestcooper.com. This is over from my side. Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to address your questions. Okay, question number 1. If a company manages leasing, renting apartment building, 9% tax is applicable. What about individual doing lease of his apartment? Individual leasing his apartment, it will not fall under the business because individual is not liable to take any license to undertake this activity. So if the income from the leasing is up to 1 million, individual, it will be considered natural person. They will not be liable to register for corporate tax, and they will not be liable to pay any corporate tax. If the income is more than 1 million, 1 million to 3 million, small business relief is there. More than 3 million, again, then it will be subject to tax. Condition is if the individual is doing any business. In this situation, where the individual is leasing, renting apartment buildings, individual is the owner, it will not be considered individual is doing the business, because individual is not liable to take any license to perform this activity. So it will not be considered any taxable income for the individual. Individual will not be liable to register, and individual will not be liable to submit the return even. Second question, we are a civil company, a real estate broker. Do we also have to register for corporate tax? For sure, you need to register. Civil company doing the business, if the revenue is more than 1 million, you are liable to register. Hasib is asking one more question. First question. Is the below activity fall under qualifying income? Video on demand services. Video on demand services. The company has a platform, okay. User can subscribe to the platform, okay. Watch the contents for a fixed subscription fee, okay. User can pay subscription fee through the mobile credit card application, bill, digital payment gateway. It is not a qualifying activity. It will be considered income from the non-qualifying activity, and person will be liable to pay corporate tax. Even this is a qualifying free zone person. If the qualifying free zone person is making all related conditions with other free zone person, criteria is being met, then there is a possibility, very minimal chances that it will be considered qualifying income 0%. Otherwise, you will be liable to pay straightforward corporate tax up to 375,000 of the taxable income 0%. Beyond that, 9%. For companies less than 1 million, one more question. For companies less than 1 million turnover, must also register for CT. What is your opinion? No. If this is a natural person, important thing is natural person. Let me go back to my basically one slide I can show you quickly. Natural person having income up to 1 million, just look into this slide. Natural person having income up to 1 million not liable to register, but this privilege is not available to the juridical person. So if you are an individual, you are a sole establishment, you are a civil company, you are unincorporated partnership, you are a natural person. If you are a natural person, any income up to 1 million, you are not liable to register. If you are earning income more than 1 million, you are liable to register and pay the corporate tax. Even you are enjoying small business relief, still you are liable to register. For the juridical person, there is no privilege up to 1 million even. Even the juridical person has a single dirham income, even zero income, still the juridical person is liable to register. Juridical person is liable to submit the return as well. And don't ask me what is the juridical person. I think we have discussed 1,000 times on this. Anyway, so there one more question they're asking. Parvez is asking, what if a company is in mainland and civil company broker? Should we register for corporate tax? For sure. If you are a mainland company, again going back, natural person or juridical person. Natural person up to 1 million not liable to register. Juridical person, even a single dirham turnover, even a zero turnover, zero revenue, still you are liable to register. One more question. If individual leasing residential property, if income is 900,000, okay, 1.2 million, 3.5 million. If individual leasing residential property, important thing is individual. If the individual is the owner of the property and individual is leasing this property, ownership of the property doesn't require any license. And leasing doesn't require any license if the person is leasing out his own or his or her own property. So it will not be considered that the person is doing any business. So once it will be considered the person is not doing any business, the person will not be liable to register. One more question. Is there any way to access to your previous sessions if they were recorded? Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. You can find, I think, Answer Live. Okay. We have a YouTube channel with the name of Crest Cooper. You can find it. Otherwise, I will send you link here. I think www.youtube.com, I think /c/Crest Cooper. I think this is the address. Okay, one more question. When the healthcare sector need to submit their first return? It doesn't matter you are in the healthcare business, you are in the construction business, you are in the trading business, you are in the real estate business, you are in the FMCG sector, oil and gas, wherever you are, it doesn't matter in which sector you are. It all depends upon your legal status. Sorry, it all depends upon your financial year, starting from once your financial year will be ended, within the 9 months from the end of the relevant financial year, you are liable to submit the return. And before the return, you need to get yourself registered as well. But if your income is up to 1 million, natural person, or you are an exempt person, you are not liable to register. Financial year ended 31st December. Your first return will be due after 31st December 2024 and before 30th September 2025. Any other question? No? If you have any question, you are most welcome. No more question? Okay, guys, have a lovely day. Thank you very much. Okay, one more question is there. Do we need to maintain separate financial statement for each trade license if we have 3 trade licenses to run only one company? So why are you maintaining 3 trade licenses to run one company? So better to consult someone. And if you're running one business, 3 licenses are not required. Principally, it will be considered fragmentation of the business. Fragmentation is not allowed. Better to consult someone. You cannot have 3 licenses just to run one company. One for manufacturing, other for trading. So man, you have different activity, man. That you are not running one company, you're doing multiple basically company, one for trading, one for manufacturing. Yes, you need to prepare the separate financial statement. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for being with me today. Have a lovely evening. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching the video. Click on the bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel.